All right, and welcome back, everybody, to Dave's Sports Betting Corner. We have a special show today. The first ever guest on Dave's R&R, Dave's Sports Betting. First guest on everything, so you should feel really honored here. One of my best friends, Baltimore advocate, Franco. How you doing today, Frank?
Good today, Dave. Thanks for having me on. I was unaware that I was the first guest um, for the new brand, but I'm happy to be here and I am honored.
Yeah, well, hopefully first isn't the worst. So let the people know a little about yourself. This is a sports show, so tell us what teams you like, what sports you play, all that good jazz.
Yeah, so as Dave mentioned, we grew up together, so we like pretty much the same teams. Ravens and Orioles mostly, just being in proximity to Baltimore. I currently live in Baltimore, so I'm closer to it now more than ever. I also watch a lot of Premier League. I would choose Liverpool as my team, probably since about 2014 when I started playing FIFA. It's kind of the team that I adopted. And then also college basketball, all over college basketball in that season. I don't get too much into college football like you do, Dave. But other than that, I play baseball in the summer. I played baseball in college, and that's pretty much my sports life nowadays.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've got a well-rounded sports fan here in Frank. The reason I brought him on today is because some people, we're not going to talk lines and everything today. We're going to talk about something that's getting a lot bigger in the world of sports. It's called NFL Survivor. Basically, what you do is you pick one team a week. If that team wins, you go to the next week. If your team loses, you're out. And you can only use each team once, so there's a lot of strategy in it. A lot of people usually get together. It's usually a big pool of money involved. Frank and I are in the same one, so that's why we have him on today. We've both made it this far, so we're going to keep rolling with this segment until we both lose. So, Frank, even if I'm out, you still have to come on every week.
Yep.
And what we're going to do is kind of just go over our first 3 weeks of picks here. So, Frank, give us your first three picks you've had this year and your thought process behind the three teams.
So week one, I went with the Ravens. We were playing the rookie quarterback coming into town for the Texans. I just thought that was a lock. The Ravens don't lose at home often, especially week one, especially against rookie quarterbacks. I just thought it was a lock. In my opinion, you don't worry about saving teams for later in the first few weeks. That's how I play it. I want my surefire teams first, and then after week four, week five, we kind of see who teams are, and then I can worry about them down the road. But yep, I went Ravens week one, and then week two I went Dallas. They were just coming off of 40-0 blowout in New York, and then week three, some would call it a cute pick, but I went Seattle. Against the Panthers. The Panthers were down their starting quarterback, which was a rookie, but they were traveling across the country to Seattle. Andy Dalton got the start. I did not believe in him. I just don't believe in the Panthers at all. Um, you're closer to the Panthers down there, so some of the Carolina fans might not be happy about that. But it paid off. It was a close game at first. Second half, Seattle came back and sealed the deal. A couple touchdowns for Kenneth Walker.
There it is. And I was one of those people who told Franco it was a cute pick, but obviously it worked out for him, and it was a good pick because the Seahawks aren't a team you're going to really be using too much down the line. They look like they can win or lose any game this year. It'll be close spreads across the board for them, I think, so it ended up working out. My first three picks, I kind of went cute to start. I started with the Commanders against the Cardinals. Thought process, Cardinals are probably going to be the worst team this year, even though the Commanders aren't going to be too great themselves. I thought it was a good spot to use them. Week two, I was doing the trend again against the Cardinals. I went with the Giants, which was a risky pick because the Giants put up 0 the first week, and it really did look like this pick was going to lose. I thought I was going to be down one on week two, but the Giants somehow pulled through. So this past week, I stopped going against the Cardinals. I did think originally I might go Dallas, but I was like, let's go with the Chiefs. The Bears are a complete dumpster fire, so I went with the Chiefs. That puts me at 3-3. Chiefs dominated that. No one's really talking about how bad the Bears are because everyone's going on about Taylor Swift now. That's here nor there, though. So we're coming into week four. Frank and I both 3-3. We have two strikes in our league. Some leagues it's one strike you're out. We've got two, so we've got plenty of ground to work with here. A lot of people, I'd say at least a third of the people though, have already been eliminated. And week 3 was such a bloodbath. We had 3 huge upsets. Baltimore lost to the Colts. Dallas lost to the Cardinals, and Jacksonville lost to the Texans. This took out, in our league, that took out 43 people in losses right there. And everything I've seen online, this is kind of like what destroyed a lot of the Survivor leagues. So,
Hmm.
Frank, out of those 3 games I mentioned, which loss was the biggest surprise to you?
To me, it was the Cowboys. I mean, obviously, I didn't expect the Ravens to lose, but the Cowboys, with how they started the first 2 weeks against the Cardinals, it just didn't seem likely at all. I almost went with Dallas, and I believe you may have too. And it just, luckily we did because they just came out. It wasn't even like they laid an egg. The Cardinals just showed up and they played hard and they got the win.
Yeah, that's the one that was the biggest surprise to me too. I was keeping up with the score on that one. I was just waiting for this shoe to drop, like it did against the Giants, where the Giants just had the comeback. It never happened in that one. Out of the 43 people, that was 21. So that's the one that was probably the biggest in a lot of leagues. So we move on to week 4 here. We don't know what's going to be a bloodbath yet, so we're going to try to talk through that. So how it's going to work when we do Survivor? We're going to do our top 3 picks that we're deciding between, and then we're going to give you our favorite one that we're probably going to lock in. If we change before Sunday, I'll put out a big post on social media. But for now, we'll give you, it's Thursday afternoon. We're going to give you where our head's at right now. So, Frank, out of the 3 teams that you're deciding between, what 3 do you have right now?
So, I the Cowboys are a big favorite this week. I just against the Patriots, but I just after last week I can't do it. Can't bring myself to pick them. So left over, as far as my top 3 choices, I have the 49ers against the Cardinals, who I know they just upset the Cowboys, but I don't think the Niners think they're too strong to let that happen. And then we move on to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs play the Jets. I believe that's Sunday Night Football. We all know how the Jets are right now. They just lost to the Patriots. It was just a miserable game to watch on both sides. Their offense has nothing going. We know what the Chiefs' offense is. I don't think that one would even be close. And then I also have the Eagles, which might be a little surprising because one of my cardinal rules is not to pick divisional games, just because you never know what's going to happen. It, upsets happen like that all the time, even with good teams and bad teams. It's just divisional opponents know each other too well. But I'm kind of leaning Eagles. I'm not going to make my pick right here, but I like the Eagles this week. I just don't think the Commanders and Sam Howell have what it takes.
I share 2 of the same top 3 as you. I'd consider the Chiefs as well, but I've already used them, so they're kind of knocked off my board. The big one, and I think it's one that a lot of people are going to go with, that we're on the same page on, is the 49ers. I know I just said I got off last week. I didn't use the Cowboys, and the Cardinals proved that why people shouldn't doubt them. But the 49ers just look like an absolute juggernaut right now that honestly should be the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I don't know the odds on that, but I wouldn't be surprised. If not, they have to be the top in the NFC, and they're 14-point favorites. You can't blink at that. That's almost as guaranteed as you can get. That Vegas is looking at it that way. Also, the Eagles one's a really good pick as well. I think we saw the Commanders lay an absolute egg against the Bills last week. Sam Howell looked terrible, and the Eagles have just as good of a defense as the Bills do, if not better. So I think the Eagles at home should win that one. The divisional part's kind of where I'm kind of debating as well if that's the one I want to go with because I agree with that rule. And then another one, this might be a cute pick. I'm thinking about it though. This is really cute, and it's kind of something Frank and I talked about over text message this past week. Franco mentioned, I just don't know how people can pick a team that don't have a win yet. The Vikings are sitting at 0-3 and are on the road against the 0-3 Panthers. It doesn't matter who's starting between Andy Dalton or Bryce Young. I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with the Vikings. I know the Panthers have a better defense than the Vikings, But I mean, can Carolina defend Justin Jefferson? I could see Justin Jefferson coming away with like 13 catches, 160 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this one to be the highest scoring fantasy player of the week. I know it's an away game, and away games are kind of ones that kind of make me skeptical as well. But Frank, is that too cute of a pick, or are you kind of, what do you think there?
I don't know. I see a lot of your points. It is an away game, so I think that's where the is moving the line down to -4 for the Vikings. But I don't know. You have some storylines there because Adam Thielen is playing the Vikings, his former team. Um, could be a little revenge game there for him. But the Vikings have been in every game. I mean, last year they won, I think, 12 of their wins were one-score games, so they're always going to keep it close. So depends if you want to ride that roller coaster this weekend.
I'm not sure if I'm going to ride it. It is in my head. That might be a big announcement later this week on social media. But I'll go first, locking in my pick for the week. I know I've been saying it. Like the Cardinals are here to play. They're here to play. But how can you look at this 14-point spread and not pick the 49ers at home against the Cardinals? It could be argued that this past week beating the Cowboys was the Cardinals' Super Bowl. And after this week of 49ers destruction can put them back down into tank mode. And I'm looking at the 49ers schedule here, and this is a big reason I might go that way, or that's why I'm locking in right now, is because for the next couple of weeks, they're going to be favorites and everything, but they have a lot of close ones coming up. They play the Cowboys, which if the Cowboys show up, that's a team that can beat them. They're away against the Browns. I know it's the Browns, but anytime it's an away game, anything can happen. Then they go away to Vikings. We know the Vikings are in every game. And then they play the Bengals. Joe Burrow could show up. So the next 4 weeks, and then after that, even at Jacksonville. Jacksonville is absolutely terrible right now, but they really can turn it on at any point. Mm-hmm. And that's 5 weeks of games where I'm skeptical to use them. And at the end of the day, we don't even know if we're going to be in this 5 weeks for now. So it is smart to kind of use some of these strong teams early. While they're 14-point favorites, I'm going to lock in the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I like that strategy looking ahead. I had not done that for the 49ers, but yeah, like you said, those games could go either way. I mean, the Bengals were one of the best teams in the AFC last year. Well, the best. So they could easily beat the 49ers. That's a tough schedule going forward, so I do like that pick. For you, and then, that's not who I'm locking in.
All right, Frank. Well, if you're not locking in the 49ers, who are you locking in this week?
I'm going to break one of my rules already in week 4, and I'm going to go with Philadelphia. Their offense turned it on late in their most recent game. They didn't look like their normal selves, scoring on every drive and whatnot, but with the performance that Sam Howell put up last week, it was just... I don't know. Was it 3 interceptions or 4 interceptions? It might have been.
I think it ended up being 4 at the end. It was like 3 with like a couple of minutes left, and then he threw another one.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles' defense, like you said, is also as good as Buffalo's, and I don't know with that combination of Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, they can beat anyone through the air. And DeAndre Swift has been picking it up on the ground, so I just think they're going to be too much to handle. And it's a home game, so it's not like an away divisional game. That's like a double red flag for me. So I'll stick with the one red flag and go Philadelphia.
All right, I like that pick too, because if we play the look-ahead game for them real quick too, you have their next 2 games they could realistically win easily after that, but they're both away games at LA, at New York. And then after that, it's kind of a juggernaut of a schedule. They play the Dolphins, which are the hottest team in the NFL right now. They're away against the Commanders, so that's... it would be even harder than this game. Then they play the Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Cowboys again, and Seahawks. There's not a situation after these next couple games that I would even consider using them. So I definitely like using them now. This is their easiest matchup for these next 3 weeks, and it's the home game. So definitely a good pick there as well.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right. There's
strategy involved. It's a different game than just making your picks every week. You got to look ahead. Only being able to use one team per week or per season, I mean, it's pretty huge. A lot plays into it.
Absolutely, and with us having 2 strikes, hopefully we'll be able to do this for a little bit. And maybe one of us can even end up with the money this year. Neither of us have won yet, so take that as you will if you're going to follow our picks. Um, Frank has the Eagles. I have the 49ers. Like I said, if anything changes this week, I'll put a post on the social media at Dave's Betting Corner. Frank, thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate your time. Definitely the first guest, but definitely not going to be the worst. Do you have any parting words, anyone you need a shout out, or anything you need to plug?
Um, Shout out to the Orioles. We might be clinching the division tonight. Um, yeah, we're going to the playoffs.
There we go. Shout out the Orioles. I'm sure we'll do some stuff with that too, because back when this was another podcast, we had someone who was very skeptical about the Orioles' success. So the haters, see ya. Go O's. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Frank, thanks again for coming on here and going over our survivor picks with me. Frank's got the Eagles. I've got the 49ers. Everybody have a great weekend and gamble responsibly.